32 teams in the middle of OTAs right now, so today we'll be bringing you the latest from across the league. It's a great way to spend your Friday afternoon, I think. We begin with the Giants. Teammates Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart, they made headlines, of course, after a public social media dispute. The controversy began when Dart introduced President Trump at a political rally. Both players gave statements on the matter just moments ago. That's where we start.
The president position has always been a position that I've well respected, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of political party, and my intentions were just that. I also understand in this world, politics can be a sensitive matter, a sensitive topic. I also understand that I am the quarterback of the New York Giants, and that involves a lot of responsibility. It's under a limelight, under a microscope, and there's a lot that comes with that, and it's been something that I've embraced. I've loved being here. I can honestly say that I love every single one of my brothers, my teammates on this team, regardless of politics, regardless of religious beliefs, regardless of anything that may be different between us. Like, I love them, and they know exactly what kind of person that I am, who comes into the facility every day, and who lays, I lay my body on the line for my guys each and every week. And it's from the connections that we build, the love that we have for each other. I've been somebody who's always respected, the different perspectives that people may have, the backgrounds that they come from. I understand that, we have such a cool opportunity as people, to be in a locker room where it's a melting pot of people from everywhere, and we get to be together.
Some things are bigger than football, and this is one of those things. Jackson is one of our leaders. He's the face of our franchise. He not only represents himself and what he does, but he represents all of us, and that goes for anybody who wears a Giants uniform. But if he chooses to align himself with a man like President Trump, it's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. And that doesn't mean that we have to spread hate. It doesn't mean that me and Jackson hate each other or we have beef. I sit next to Jackson every day, every team meeting, we close, we talk. As long as we make sure we got the same goal as a team and our goals align, which they do, and I feel like that's all that matters. So I just want to move past this, and yeah, that's it.
A lot of fascinating perspective there. And from where we welcome in our Giants reporter, Jordan Renan. Jordan, sources inside the building have told you this situation could actually be a positive. How so?
Yeah, someone even, I think, used the phrase potential blessing in disguise, because during a season, throughout a season, every team's going to go through adversity. They're trying to build a new culture here, right? This is obviously a very sensitive subject. Abdul Carter wasn't happy. Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter talked it out. As a matter of fact, after Jackson Dart talked today, you saw him go up to Abdul Carter, and the two of them hugged it out right there. You see it right there on the screen as I speak. And so it really goes to show you that, and Coach John Harbaugh said this, these are the kind of conversations that you have in real life, that people have in their workplace, that people have within their own family, at family dinners and stuff. And I think that's the way he's viewing it, and the Giants are viewing it as well, is that it could help them moving forward. This is how they deal with adversity moving forward. They talk it out. They had a players-led meeting, basically. I mean, I'm not saying John Harbaugh and the coaches in front office weren't in there, but they were on Tuesday. But it was mostly a player-led meeting. They talked through their differences. Jackson Dart explained where he was coming from, and now they say they've all moved on. And the two of them, Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter in particular, seem to be in a good place.
Yeah, Harbaugh maybe with a pivotal leadership moment here early on in his career there as a Giants head coach. Let's turn it back onto the field. You were watching workouts today. What did you see from Dart?
Yeah, to be honest, you looked at Jackson Dart, he was had a lot of energy. Teammates were coming over to him constantly, dapping him up, slapping fives. Like, there was looked like a normal practice. And John Harbaugh said the 3 practices since that team meeting, right? That was on Tuesday. They practiced Wednesday through Friday, OTAs. They're voluntary, but obviously almost every player is here, at least the ones that are healthy. Jackson Dart looked like his normal self. The very last play I saw him make a play and make a throw, He fired a dart to the back of the end zone to one of his favorite guys. Theo Johnson was jumping up and down in celebration after he threw this pass to the back of the end zone. And it really just looked like a normal practice for Jackson Dart. And the Giants really want to see him grow from the pocket. So I think that was a big thing to see him make that throw. They're trying to make him stay in the pocket. Every time he seems to move, they're blowing the whistle and they're calling the play dead. They want to see Jackson Dart improve from the pocket. That's where they think he can make the biggest growth in year 2.
Yeah, big emphasis there for sure. Dart throwing a dart. I see what you did there, Jordan. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining us here on NFL Live. Yep. Okay, Jackson Dart, as Jordan's referencing, played a physical brand of football as a runner, as you might expect. He finished with 9 rushing touchdowns last year. That's the second most by a rookie quarterback since 1950. And after Cam Newton's 14 in 2011. But Dart was evaluated for concussions numerous times, took lots of hits, getting contacted while running or throwing 146 times from week 4 onward, the third most among quarterbacks after Justin Herbert and Jacoby Brissett. That's just not where they want him to be, and we're going to dive into that as we welcome you in here. Glad you're with us. Jeremy Fowler is here, as well as Sam Acho for the hour. Jeremy, what changes can we expect from this offense that we actually see on the field for the Giants next?
Well, Laura, the Giants are going to lean into that running game to try to protect Jackson Dart even more. Last year, 511 rushing attempts. That was second in the league. They finally feel like they have a viable offensive line. It's taken forever, years, for them to get a starting 5 they're comfortable with. So they're going to try to protect Dart. And this spring, this summer, they just want to see him make the easy plays, make the big play when it's there, but do it like Jordan said, from the pocket. They don't want him to take unnecessary risks. They want to protect him, run when you have to, not when you want to.
I love that detail. They're blowing the whistle anytime he starts moving too much when it comes to the pocket. Sam, what do you hope to see from Dart in this offense?
I want to see him not just protect himself more, but also allow the team to protect him more. We talked about and alluded to it, this physical brand of offense that should be being installed in New York. They added Patrick Ricard, who was this big 300-pound fullback from the Ravens. They also added Isaiah Likely. So that mindset, that culture, that winning creed is going to come from Baltimore to New York. And so I expect more protection around Jackson Dart, but also I want to reiterate the point that he does need to be better in the pocket. He does an outstanding job of moving around. His first touchdown last season was a quarterback draw in the red zone for a rushing touchdown. So that's positive. That's a great part of his game. But the next level of his game is winning from within the pocket. That's what I expect to see in year 2 for Jackson Dart.
Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Lots of rumors still circulating about Kayvon Thibodeau potentially trading him. Any updates there, Jeremy?
Laura, that trade situation is dormant right now. Kayvon Thibodeau expects to be a New York Giant in 2026. However, there has been trade interest, so things could heat up. The Giants want a quality day 2 pick to even think about it. That's at least been the stance back before the draft when they were talking with teams a little bit. That's a little rich for some of the rival executives that I've spoken to, but the New Orleans Saints, they kicked the tires on this a little bit. Sleeper could be the New England Patriots, funny enough, because they are in on A.J. Brown. We know that. They feel like they might be a player away. Edge rusher is one where they're a little bit thin, so they could at least look into it. At the end of the day, though, from what the Giants would want and need to make a trade, it's a little rich for teams.
Man, that's interesting if they got Thibodeau and A.J. Brown. We'll talk about A.J. Brown, by the way, coming up a little later on in the show. And one of the reasons why Thibodeau is part of this conversation, right, Sam, is key adds on this defense in the offseason, including Arvell Reese, who the Giants drafted number 5 overall. What are you expecting from this defense?
I expect a defense that is going to focus on stopping the run. Arvell Reese is a key add. Yes, he can rush the quarterback. I expect him playing off the ball inside linebacker. Why? Because the New York Giants last year were 31st in the NFL. That's second to last in stopping the run. And so what do? They added 2 defensive tackles, Shelby Harris at free agency, and also DJ Reader, this 6'3", 330-pound nose guard run stuffer. They also added Tremaine Edmonds at inside linebacker to play that Mike position. So Arvell Reese, as excited as you can get about him being an edge rusher, I expect him on the inside to be able to stop the run. Yes, you get excited about Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, but if you're in 2nd and 2 and 3rd and 1 all the time, you'll never have an opportunity to even rush the quarterback. And so you stop the run, that earns you the right to go get the QB.
Yeah, I was actually earlier reading this note. I was interested because I didn't totally remember this, but last year the Giants had 5 losses after leading by double digits, tied for the most by any team in a season in NFL history. That's rare that it happens that you just blow those leads. So they're looking to change that as well. All right, to Lions OTAs now. Dan Campbell's team trying to get back to playoff contention form after last season didn't end how they wanted it to. Checking in on Jared Goff and company. They got a new offensive coordinator in Drew Petzing. He was brought over after spending the previous 3 seasons in Arizona. Here's Dan Campbell with more on his Lions.
I'm done with the hype of the pajama party in May. I'm just, so man, it's about the mental, it's about the movement skills, like all that other stuff doesn't matter. And then we'll find out in training camp who's who. This will be the most competition we've had, in my opinion. I think top tier competition. I mean, this will be good. This is going to be good across the board. You know, so now it's just there again. Let's get acclimated. We want to hit the ground running when we get to late July, August. That's what we want. So that's really what this time's about.
Pajama parties in May. Dan Campbell doesn't want it. I love it. He's the best, by the way. Detroit moving on from John Morton after 1 season as offensive coordinator. Dan Campbell, remember, he took over the play calling duties in week 10 last year. Might have been doing it a little earlier than that, too. But now Drew Petzing steps in, getting this offense back on track is his goal. And the Lions made a swap at running back. Isaiah Pacheco will now pair with electric playmaker Jahmyr Gibbs as David Montgomery was traded to Houston. Now, Gibbs is one of 3 2023 draft picks that are still extension eligible. The others being tight end Sam Laporta, safety Brian Branch. Jeremy, what's the latest on a new deal for Gibbs?
Laura, Gibbs is positioned to reset the running back market in a big way. Think $20 million per year or over, because the Lions have expressed interest in doing a deal with Gibbs. There isn't a lot of progress here yet. You have the next couple months leading into training camp to try to hash this out. But because of the looming presence of Bijan Robinson, too, who's also eligible for an extension, Gibbs is in a position where if he wants to wait for Robinson to go first, he can do that. So it's a little bit of a game of chess between those 2 top running backs. There are some I talked to around the league who believe Gibbs is the very best number 1 running back over Robinson in the entire NFL. So he's going to get a major contract. They want to do it. Just not a lot of progress yet. It's going to take some time.
All right, Sam, the Lions have a new OC that I was just mentioning, Drew Petzing. What are you watching with this offense? What may need to change?
Well, it's need to be just a focus on the tight ends. That's what Drew Petzing is going to bring from Arizona. He majored in 12 and 13 personnel in Arizona. You saw Trey McBride have this huge year, really for the past several years. But that's one thing that the Lions already have. The only issue is the health of who you see on your screen, Brock Wright, and also Sam Laporta. When Sam Laporta went down last season, the team averaged about a touchdown less than when he was on the field. And so a healthy Sam Laporta, who was injured last year, a healthy Brock Wright, who's coming off of injury as well, is going to be the key for this Drew Petzing-led offense. It's going to be tight end focused, tight end heavy, but it's got to be the health of those tight ends that's going to move them forward.
Yeah, Detroit also hoping for some better O-line play. The Lions had the second lowest pass block win rate in the NFL last season. Got to info live. We're coming up on a very important date on the NFL calendar regarding the post-June 1st designation. Now, here's a little explainer on it all, okay? Cutting or trading a player after June 1st allows a team to spread out a dead cap hit over 2 years instead of absorbing it all this year. As it relates to trades, you can't make a trade before June 1st and call it a post-June 1 trade, the way you can with cuts. You actually have to wait until after June 1st to make the trade if you want the cap relief. That's why we're seeing this A.J. Brown thing drag on a little bit. At the most basic level, the June 1 deadline is a way for teams to spread out dead money. It's a big piece of how they manage their rosters and the money that they're paying, but that's why June 1st is so important. That's the June 1 alert. I didn't know there's going to be a siren, but I like that. Okay, Saints running back Alvin Kamara among the names to watch post-June 1. Saints head coach Kellen Moore said there's no timeline to figuring out the situation, according to New Orleans football reporter Nick Underhill. So, Jeremy, what is the latest on Kamara?
The latest is that Kamara and the Saints really have not had a lot of conversation of late, but this could heat up leading up to the June 1st you see behind me on Monday. So
it's right over your shoulder.
They're going to have to address his contract because he's due $11.5 million to essentially be the number 2 running back behind Travis Etienne. Team feels like that's a little untenable, but they haven't formally asked Kamara to take any sort of pay cut, rework his contract, or be traded. So there is a path where they could find a sweet spot on a revised contract. Sometimes you see that where the team gives up a little bit, the player gives up a little bit to be made whole with incentives, maybe takes a little bit of a pay cut. So you can see that process. He does have $3 million guaranteed on this deal. Saints have to pay him that regardless, but he wants to be there. It seems like there's a path that they could work that out.
Yeah, Sam, if Kamara isn't a Saint, is there somewhere that you think he could land that would be a good fit for him and whatever team that is?
I think the Green Bay Packers would be a great fit for Alvin Kamara for a couple of different reasons. Number one, there is certain uncertainty revolving Josh Jacobs. But another piece beyond that is his ability to be able to be an extra weapon for Jordan Love, his ability to catch out of the backfield, his ability to create plays in open space. I think Green Bay makes perfect sense for a guy like Alvin Kamara. He's still dynamic. I understand that last year's numbers weren't what they usually are, but he still has that dynamism at 30 years old, ability to make plays in open space, and then be an extra weapon for a team that wants to compete in the NFC North.
Let's talk about the 49ers, and their wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk is another name to keep an eye on with this June 1 deadline. There's another siren. Thank you for that. All right, so Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels talked about it today. We wasn't much, so we're going to not do that. Jeremy, what is the latest on Aiyuk that you can tell us?
Well, the team's holding firm because they're going to wait till after that deadline because they can save nearly $20 million on the dead salary cap if they have to cut him or trade him. I've talked to multiple rival execs who say he's untradeable because of his contract and all the money he had. Even though the guarantees have been voided, nobody wants to take that on. They don't know the condition of his knee. Really, it's been a mystery whether he's had any sort of correspondence with the team of late. So right now it's an issue. Unless he's cut and a free agent, teams are not eager to jump on this as of right now.
Yeah, Sam, the Commanders have certainly been tied to him. The teammate thing with Aiyuk and Jaden Daniels back in college. What are your thoughts on Aiyuk and this dilemma for the Niners?
Yeah, it really is a dilemma. He hasn't played in over a year since week 7 of 2024. There's reports of him not doing the rehab with the team. There's so much doubt and cloud over this. Now, you could talk about potential teams, maybe teams like the Cleveland Browns or teams like the New Orleans Saints being potential fits. But also, those teams went and drafted guys this past draft. Jordan Tyson went to New Orleans in the first round. Cleveland got Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. And so all of a sudden, it starts to get a lot more murky for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, if he is released, the team would definitely take a flyer on him, but it just gets a little bit tougher now with so much uncertainty surrounding the team that he's on.
All right, and if you're at home and you're like, all right, so they keep talking about June 1st and A.J. Brown. Why have they not talked about A.J. Brown? We're talking about A.J. Brown now, okay? Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown and his potential trade.
Hey.
Thank you. I like that. I think we need to bring the siren back to just in different spots that don't make sense. The New England Patriots are the team that has been connected with A.J. Brown post June 1. Eagles teammate Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley both spoke on Wednesday about Brown's likely departure.
I think for us, we're focused on learning the offense. It really doesn't change in terms of our approach to improve. There's an if. Obviously been a lingering thing, but nothing can replace all the greatness that we achieved together.
It's gonna be a hard time for me to say anything bad about A.J. Brown. I'm a big fan of A.J. Brown, one of my really good friends, one of my favorite teammates I've ever been around. Just respect him as a man, but this is the business, it's the NFL. If I'm not here, if Jalen's not here, if whoever's not here, the show goes on, and that's just how the NFL operates.
Another reminder on the calendar, June 1st is Monday. So, Jeremy, are we going to be seeing A.J. Brown in a Patriots jersey soon? When's it happening?
It should be soon. I talked to some people involved, Laura. I was told the Patriots are still totally confident that they can get this done. But as of right now, there are no trade terms. There's only like a wink, wink, understanding, hopefulness, all that. But they have not agreed to what the compensation will be. And I'm told New England is not overly eager to give up a first-round pick in any capacity. Now, they might end up having to do that, but can they do one that's like a second-round pick that's conditional, that can drop to a first? Or do they do a package where they get picks on the back end to make them whole so they don't have to give up too much? That's what they're all working out right now. I talked to a source of the team who still believes it could happen in or around Monday or Tuesday, but teams are in a situation where Philly wants to make sure they get the right return so they could wait it out a little bit. New England doesn't want to give up too much, and they feel like they have the leverage because Philly's already signed and traded for and added like 3 or 4 different receivers. So they're not playing A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's just sort of an anvil in the building right now. So both sides have to get this done, but they could wait a few days to figure this out.
Man, do it Monday. I want some action.
Yes.
Sam, let's imagine that it happens. How does Brown fit with this Patriots offense?
I think it's a phenomenal fit. Just going back to what happened last year with New England in the playoffs. They were a run-heavy, a run-first football team. That's what they did when playoff times happened. Now, of course, they went and got Romeo Doubs this year in free agency, but imagine Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown. That'll add another level of relief for quarterback Drake May. Drake May was getting sacked left and right. Of course, that needs to be addressed with the offensive line, which the New England Patriots did. But in addition, you have 2 stud receivers on the outside. You're not solely relying on the run game or receivers that weren't able to get it done last season.
All right, so how about the Eagles side of this? Jeremy, what does this mean for Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense under their new OC, Sean Mannion? Obviously, you mentioned they made some additions when it comes to receivers. They drafted Mekhi Lemon, but what is it going to look like?
Yeah, because they still have A.J. Brown on the roster, but that's sort of in ghost form at this point. They have moved on. They are trying to absorb Sean Mannion's offense. I've told Jalen Hurts has really bought in. He's as open as he has ever been to this offense and this structure and going under center and running the play action. He likes the structure that Sean Mannion has given him, and he's got some new weapons. He's been working off-site with a.smith, who will be his new number 1. Those two have chemistry. They were Alabama teammates together. a.smith has a different style than A.J. Brown. He'll go directly to Jalen Hurts if he has an issue. It won't be like a passive-aggressive sideline thing. So they should be able to coexist a little better chemistry-wise than Brown and Hurts did. And then they did a bunch of adding. I mean, you see Mekhi Lemon, they're really excited about his route running, but some of these names are still wait and see. They have to really coalesce and make this all work right now.
Yeah, Sam, as you look at the list there of wide receivers on this Eagles roster, when you think about losing A.J. Brown, I mean, he's still an incredibly talented wideout. How does this impact what the Eagles will look like?
Yeah, it's hard to replace A.J. Brown just based off the talent and the skill level, but the Eagles are already along that process. They got Hollywood Brown in free agency, and then you talked about trading up and getting Mekhi Lemon. I think those 2 pieces are going to be a big addition. I think the bigger story for the Eagles is what are they going to do about replacing offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland, but also they have a new offensive coordinator, so there's so many changes. Offensive line, OC, but more than anything, I think it's getting young players in the building like Mekhi Lemon, who's already there, getting ready to try to take this offense to the next level. The defense, we think, will be great based off Vic Fangio, what he's able to do in Clint Hurt, but the offense has to get clicking again with some of the young receivers, which I think they'll be able to do.
Here's where I really think they miss A.J. Brown. He's been a machine on contested catches and tight window throws. He's got the most catches and most yards on tight window throws since entering the NFL in 2019. Mekhi Lemon has off OTAs on Monday with a revamped defense and a healthy Joe Burrow. We welcome in our Bengals reporter, Ben Baby. I think the siren was for Ben. Ben, lots of talk about the defense this offseason, but the offense also had their fair share of struggles last season, right? Not up to their normal standards. What adjustments can we expect to see?
Yeah, Laura, and talking to folks, the Bengals are really focused on fixing that offense, specifically when it comes to first downs. And I spoke to Bengals offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher this week about this, and he said that, yes, there are some areas they need to improve in, and he talked about success rate, which is something that indicates how well an offense stays on schedule. And last year, Joe Burrow was 14th in that category amongst qualifying quarterbacks, and when he's been an MVP finalist, he was 2nd and 5th in those seasons. And so they know that they need to be better on first downs and those second and manageables, and they want to be more explosive and also find ways to not give up those defensive touchdowns that also led to having Joe Burrow having the worst EPA on first downs of any quarterback in the NFL. And something that Pitcher said that was pretty noticeable is that they're going to spend some time this offseason studying the trends, figuring out what they can incorporate into their offense and also cater to their playmakers, because they want to make sure that trio of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow are firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, when you have those guys, it's like, why not? Let's cater to them as much as we can. Ben, it's been a busy offseason for the Bengals. How do they feel about the team that they're putting together now heading into OTAs?
Yeah, it's not just those offensive guys, Laura. It's the defensive guys that they brought in, namely Dexter Lawrence. And Joe Burrow said it himself. He feels like this roster is the most talented he's ever had since being in Cincinnati. And he's getting to know these guys a little bit. Dexter Lawrence told me earlier this week that he came into the building to get some sauna work. Then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden, he found himself having nachos with Joe Burrow and former Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard. And he said that he enjoyed chopping it up, and he appreciates the aura, for lack of a better phrase, that Burrow has brought to the locker room since he reported for offseason workouts. And Lawrence isn't the only one. I was standing near Burrow a couple weeks ago, and I saw Jonathan Allen, their new defensive tackle, come over, say, hey, Joe, good seeing you. And Joe said, it's good to have you. So you can definitely tell this is a group that's excited to go out there and show they've been better than they've been in previous years.
The sauna to the nachos sounds like an ideal afternoon for me. I love it. Thanks to Ben for the latest out of Cincinnati. We appreciate you. Joe Burrow, by the way, missing 9 games last year after suffering a turf toe injury back in week 2. they can be a lot better if Joe Burrow stays healthy. Remember that turf toe required surgery. The Bengals went 1-8 last season without Burrow in the starting lineup compared to 5-3 in the 8 games he played. Cincy's offense was stellar on third down when Burrow suited up and had a total QBR nearly 20 points higher than in the 9 games where he was not available. No doubt how important Joe Burrow is to this team, to this offense. Sam, what are the keys to success for the Bengals this season?
Well, it's not on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's on the defensive side of the ball for the Cincinnati Bengals. No one in the NFL gave up more rushing yards than Cincinnati did. They were last in the league. Overall, they were 30th and 31st when it came to points allowed and also yards allowed. And so how do you address that? Some of the names you've already heard. Number one, guys like Jonathan Allen on the interior will help shore up that run defense specifically. Dexter Lawrence as well. He's able to rush the quarterback from the inside and stop the run. So those are 2 key additions to help this struggling Bengals defense. But more than that, losing Trey Hendrickson, when they drafted Cassius Howell, and they also got Boye Mafe from the Seattle Seahawks. And so I think that it's almost like a replacement by committee situation, but more than anything, they need to stop the run to help out the offense on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, to that point, over the last 2 seasons, the Bengals have 4 losses in games where they scored at least 30 points. That's 4 more than any other team in that time. You score 30 points, you got to be able to win the games. All right, let's check in on the Texans OTAs. Certainly not the way C.J. Stroud wanted to finish the season as the offense struggled mightily down the stretch. Look at Stroud checking in there. He's got the haircut going on. All right, Stroud vowed to be better. They've added some key offensive pieces to support him. And will C.J. get a new deal? More on that in a moment. But first, let's hear from Stroud.
I watched a lot of our self-scout, just try to, fix some things, try to introduce some things that I'm used to, that I've done in my past, that I like to do, so we can do that a little more. But I think we're both growing, we're great, creating a better relationship and, growing as an offense, and just trying to make it the offense for the 2026, 2027 Texans, and trying to doing things that everybody, is good at, and doing things that, we've done in the past. So, we're growing in that area.
Okay, so no deal yet for C.J. Stroud. Any update there, Jeremy?
Laura, my sense after asking around is that C.J. Stroud is going to play this out, this 4th year of his rookie deal. They can always revisit a contract down the road in season or after the season. Next offseason, there are going to be a ton of quarterbacks that could get new deals. That money's going to heat up in a big way. So the Texans have kind of shown signals that they're paying other players, defensive guys. Hasn't really prioritized getting this done. So I don't sense major traction on a new deal. I expect him to play his 4th year at around $5.6 million and then play his way into a much bigger deal. This is a quarterback that showed top 10 signs at his position just a couple years ago.
Right.
Didn't end so well last year, but he's got chemistry with his receivers. 2nd year in the system with Nick Caley. He should be able to ball out. Get more money.
Right. And you mentioned some of those deals. They're prioritizing defensive players, one of them being Will Anderson Jr. A few weeks ago, the edge rusher became the highest paid non-quarterback in league history due to his dominance on the field. Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans spoke yesterday about how that dominance might be showing up a little too much at practice.
Will continues to wreck practice. I'm probably going to have to sit him out here soon because we have to be able to actually practice. So he just keeps wrecking practice. So just keep doing that, keep causing havoc. That's what he does. And I was showing guys that's what he does on Sundays as well. So it's no surprise that Will is the guy for everyone to watch of the intensity at which we operate. That's how Will Anderson plays. That's how I want everybody to be.
I mean, you love this, Sam, as a defensive guy. The offense is like, dude, can you calm down? We're in OTAs. Like, take it down a notch, right?
Well, what's great about it is not just what Will Anderson's doing, but what that type of energy and intensity does for everyone else on that defensive side of the ball. If you as defense, you're trying to wreck practice, but not everybody can do it. So when you watch Will Anderson do it down in and down out, you're like, okay, man, if he's going to bring the juice, I'll bring it as well. I remember watching him coming out of college, even before he came out of the draft. His sophomore year, I was like, dude, this dude should be the top guy picked, and he's just proved it over and over and over again. And so now it's his dominance, but it also emanates to the rest of the team.
Man, this defense should be a problem once again. The Texans have the 2nd most guaranteed money committed to defensive players at over $424 million behind the Ravens. These guys, though, a bunch of star quarterbacks speaking with the media this week, including Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, talking for the first time about new head coach Jesse Minter.
New coach, new OC, different new guys in positions. So everything is just new, basically, size upstairs, But coaching staff is just new, and I can say it's a breath of fresh air because everything is just new. That's all.
Sam, a lot of positivity so far from Lamar on the new coaching staff. How does that continue?
I think it just continues with him and his relationship with offensive coordinator Declan Doyle, the 30-year-old OC who was with Chicago last year. There was so much excitement about what he did with Ben Johnson. He also spent time in New Orleans, and so I think it's going to be Declan Doyle's job to continue to build that relationship to have the success for Lamar continue.
Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes also spoke to the media, also spoke yesterday about mentoring rookie quarterback Ty Simpson.
I think my job, first and foremost, is to get myself and our team ready to play as best I possibly can. He's a part of that team. There's no question about it. We're in a unique position in the fact that we play the same position. I have a ton of experience, and he's just now starting his journey as an NFL player. So, listen, I know he's going to watch not only me, but other guys, and he's a guy that asks questions. I've been trying to answer those as honestly and as thoroughly as I possibly can. He's a smart kid. He's got talent, obviously. But my job is, go out there and get myself and our team as ready to play as I possibly can.
Stafford recently signed a one-year contract extension with the Rams that will keep him with the team through 2027 at least. Jeremy, what's the expectation for Stafford and Simpson?
Well, the Rams love the situation they have here, Laura, because they have Matthew Stafford for at least 2 years. By the way, it could be longer than that because the way they've been operating with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford cooking together, they've been keeping him healthy with the new system, using more tight ends, under center stuff. So he could certainly play even longer than that, but right now they got the 2 years and then they can revisit it. They want to play Ty Simpson at that point. They certainly can, but they like that these two have been getting along. Stafford's been a pro about sort of being able or at least willing to mentor Ty Simpson. I'm told Simpson already has exceeded expectations a little bit. He's looked really good out there so far in an early, very early May OTA session.
I'm about to say, Jeremy, pump the brakes over there. They're in what did Dan Campbell call it? The pajama party in May. Sam, thoughts on the addition of Simpson behind Stafford?
I love the addition of Ty Simpson to the LA Rams behind Matthew Stafford. He's a son of a coach, right? I got a chance to spend time with his dad, Jason Simpson, who is a coach at UT Martin. So he has that in his blood, in his DNA, but he doesn't have to get thrown out there to play immediately. He gets a chance to watch, to learn, to develop, and not just on the field, but the off the field skills, discipline, and habits that it takes to be an NFL player, more specifically an NFL quarterback. So I love the addition of Ty Simpson, both for the mentorship that he's going to get from Matthew Stafford, the reigning MVP, but also he's got it in his DNA.
Yeah, this feels ideal and smart, at least right now. Now, one question mark for the Rams is wide receiver Puka Nacua's contract situation. He spoke about that yesterday and about how that fits into this offseason.
Not too sure. I know that my job is to come up here and to be with the guys and go out there and compete every single day, and that's been kind of my mindset. If I can continue to improve as a person, I know that the coaches and the people around me are helping me improve as a football player, so those are the things that I can control and then hopefully allow those other things to handle themselves.
Yeah, Jeremy, any updates on contract decisions for the Rams at this point?
Yeah, Laura, contract talks with Puka and his representatives have not heated up at this point. So that sets the stage for him to play out the final year of his rookie deal in 2026. In fact, the Rams have several young stars that could have to play it out because the Rams already paid Trent McDuffie, Matthew Stafford. They're sort of sending signals behind the scenes based on lack of conversations with some of these players that it's going to have to go into 2026 and just see what happens. So it's going to be a test of their locker room a little bit when you pay some, including a new player like Trent McDuffie that comes in, but you have these homegrown players. So the Rams are going from F them picks, which is their old mantra, to we're not going to pay them picks. So they're going to have to figure something out because they have a lot of talent there that they have to pay.